The whispering curse of Blackwood Asylum. It was a cold, mist-soaked October night when my friends and I found ourselves standing in front of the decaying remains of Blackwood Asylum. The building loomed like a forgotten nightmare, its twisted silhouette stretching toward the sky, its windows shattered, and its walls draped in creeping ivy. The asylum had been abandoned for decades, yet it felt alive, like it was watching us.
We'd all heard the stories, the warnings passed down about the asylum. People whispered about the disappearance of a nurse named Lillian Wright, who'd worked there when it still housed patients. They said she had been kind, her voice soft as she cared for the mentally ill. But one night, she vanished without a trace. The only thing left behind was a haunting melody, a lullaby, sung in the dead of night, reverberating through the halls. They called it the nurse's lullaby, a ghostly tune that foretold doom to anyone who dared listen. The rhyme was a sinister chant. Nurse comes for those who wander. Nurse comes to pull you under. People said that once you heard it, you were never seen again. We joked about it on the way here, but standing in the asylum's cold shadow, the joke felt like it had turned on us. Jake, Miles, Kira, and I stepped through the front doors, which groaned on their rusty hinges. As soon as we entered, a chill wrapped around us, biting deep, as if the asylum itself exhaled from the darkness. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and every step we took echoed unnaturally, as though the walls themselves were amplifying our movements. We didn't get far before something went wrong. Miles' flashlight flickered, then went dead. "Batteries are fine, man," he muttered, shaking it. That's when I heard it, a whisper, so faint it could have been my imagination, drifting from the shadows at the end of the hallway. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself it was the wind, but deep down, a cold dread had already taken hold. We pushed deeper into the asylum. Every hallway seemed to stretch on forever, narrowing as we moved further in, the oppressive silence weighing down on us. Soon, we found ourselves in what looked like an old surgical room. The walls were streaked with dark stains that looked far too recent. A bone-deep chill settled in the air, and the shadows seemed to shift, almost like they were watching us. A flicker at the edge of my vision made me freeze. Someone moved, a shadow too fast to catch. I jerked back, bumping into Jake. "Did you see that?" I whispered, my voice shaking, but the others hadn't noticed. Still, I could tell they felt it, the crawling dread, the way the asylum seemed to press in on us, like we'd intruded somewhere we didn't belong. Kira was the first to crack. "We should leave," she murmured, barely louder than a breath. We all agreed, but as we turned to leave, the door slammed shut with a thunderous crash that echoed through the empty halls. I rushed to it, pulling with everything I had, but it wouldn't move. My fingers went numb, and I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. That's when I heard it, the lullaby. It started as a soft hum, but it grew, winding through the air, seeping from the walls. A woman's voice, singing that cursed song. "Nurse comes for those who wander. Nurse comes to pull you under." My blood ran cold. I turned to Jake, but what I saw wasn't him anymore. His face had gone slack, his eyes empty and glazed. His lips moved, whispering the same haunting words, "Nurse comes to pull you under." His voice was distant, like it belonged to someone else, someone far away. I tried to shake him, shouting his name, but he wouldn't respond. His eyes stayed locked on something unseen, something lurking just out of sight. The others, Miles and Kira, began to change too, their eyes hollow, their expressions vacant as they whispered that same cursed rhyme. Then I heard it, footsteps, slow, deliberate, and getting closer. Each step echoed louder than the last, deliberate, purposeful, like something was coming for us. The temperature plummeted, the air thickened, and I could feel something watching, something breathing down the back of my neck. I turned, expecting to see it, but there was nothing, only shadows creeping toward me, and that lullaby, louder, suffocating. I screamed at them, my friends, if they were still in there, pleading for them to snap out of it. But they just kept chanting, their voices blending into the eerie melody. The footsteps grew louder, closer, but I couldn't move, frozen with terror as the shadows closed in. I don't know how I did it, but I lunged for the door one last time, slamming my shoulder into it with all the strength I had left. It gave way with a crack, and I stumbled out into the hallway. I looked back just for a moment and saw the shadows curling around my friends, pulling them into the darkness. Their faces disappeared, lost to the void. The door slammed behind me with a final, deafening bang, sealing them inside. I ran. I didn't stop running until I was outside, gasping for air, my lungs burning. The asylum stood silent and still behind me, but I could feel its eyes on me, waiting. I never saw my friends again, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear that lullaby in my dreams. Nurse comes for those who wander. Nurse comes to pull you under. Like and follow, please.